Well, Trek has finally done it. It's been long awaited. They finally have an electric bike with throttle assist. This is a Class 2 electric bike. So let's get into the new FX Plus 1 and 1S to learn about this new bike from Trek. Well, thanks for tuning in to Electric Bike Journal. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new FX Plus 1 and subsequently the 1S. They're practically the same bike. We'll just get this out up front. The 1 and the 1S are essentially the same bike, except for the 1S will be Class 3, so pedal assist up to 28 miles per hour, while the 1 that we have here on test is a Class 1 or Class 2 electric bike, so pedal assist and throttle assist up to 20 miles per hour. They will have the same price, the same specs. Well, actually the price, did I say? Less than $2,000, barely at $1,999. The same specs, drivetrain, drive unit, all the features, everything will be the same. They're just making two different options depending on your local legislation, the local laws, what the rules are for you. So that way you can get the bike that won't get you into trouble when you're riding around town. The new FX Plus 1 will have the basic safety features that, well, we think should be required of electric bikes in today's world. So it has the UL certifications, the 2849 and the 2771. Additionally, some of the lighting standards that we think are crucial for riding around town. As a commuter bike, you know, things like tail light, front light, and turn signals. I think that's really beneficial, especially when you're riding around through traffic. It's nice to let other drivers know, or other cyclists on the road know what you're gonna do. And of course, to be able to ride on into the evening or at night when you're working your way back from home. So the FX Plus 1 will have a fully aluminum frame that is offered in two different frame styles, a mid-step and a step over, as you see here. Additionally, it will come in sizes from small on up to extra large. The fork is also an aluminum fork, and it does have a through axle. I think this is a great upgrade to any bike. As the designs progress, I think through axles are safer, they're more secure, and just are, you know, better handling. You know, you have a bigger, larger axle on your wheel, which I think is a nice benefit. The FX Plus 1 will sit on 27.5-inch wheels with 2-inch wide tires. I think a really great urban commuter wheel size. You get a little bit more volume tire. I think this works out great for riding around on rough roads, you know, going off curbs, things like that. Just have that extra rubber on there, but still be able to pedal efficiently. Now, as an electric bike, I know you're all wondering, what does it use for a drive unit? This uses the Hyena 500-watt rear hub motor with 60 Newton meters of torque. It does use a torque sensor as well. So it has a very comfortable and intuitive pedaling characteristic, which we'll talk about in our ride impressions. And that does work with that throttle, of course. Now, if you don't want to use the throttle, you're not going to find yourself using it, and you want to clean up your handlebars, they do have a new wiring harness, which is kind of a big deal for them. Everything is color coded. So whether it be yourself or the mechanics at the Trek dealers, being able to swap out components, electrical components, and change out for lighting, or remove or add that throttle if you need to replace it. Everything's really easy up front and easy to connect to up here on this new Junction box located on the underside of the stem. In addition to that Hyena drive unit is a new color display located up on the handlebars there. It's very good size, easy to use, plus and minus buttons to switch through those 3 levels of pedal assist: an eco, a mid, and a high. This whole system does work with Trek's app, the Trek Central app, which we'll link down below. Easier access to download that if you're interested. Helping with that efficiency is the Shimano ESSA 8-speed drivetrain. So pretty good gearing to be able to pedal up really steep hills and to get around town and hold that 20 miles an hour very easily without draining yourself, which I think for a commuter or upright posture, that's what we're looking for in an electric bike. So it's a good pairing on gearing, and the drivetrain works well. Braking power, something that I always like to focus on with electric bikes, is nice and large 180 millimeter rotors front and rear with these Rush 2-piston hydraulic disc brakes that feel really good. Good lever feel, good actuation, solid brakes so far, and I haven't had any issues during testing. This is the Trek FX Plus. Let's get into some riding to see really how it does out on the road and talk about the efficiency, those pedal assist modes, how well it does on the hills, and share with you our final thoughts on what we think of the new FX Plus 1. Once you are connected to the app on your phone and connected to the bike, it'll show basic things on your dashboard, battery percentage. You can set, beginner ride, and it'll track your ride. You can tune your motor and just look at maps as well. Right now, the range estimations and everything are in kilometers. You can change that with your profile settings and back to the dashboard there. So now all these estimations are updated to mileage. Right now at 71% reflected on battery life, I still have 44 miles in eco, 31 in mid, and 25 in high. Now it does show a separate one just for throttle, and that's at 18 miles currently. Down here we got recommended tire pressures, what it suggests based off of your profile, your rider weight and such, and it knowing what bike you're on. Before we get into the ride, let's talk real quick about the tuning modes. You can tune any of these modes to be customized from max power of 1 on up to 100%, and pedal response from gradual over to quick. Kind of like where it's at right now. Max power, again, we're keeping it where it's all at, but you can boost that up another 25% for power, which is pretty cool. So right now we're just gonna go for a ride, hit let's ride, and go show you how this thing does out on the road. All right, well, now that we've gone through the app, let's go for a ride. I do wanna talk about comfort before we get into power. This is a really rough road. I have ridden dirt roads, gravel roads that are smoother than this, and I'm intentionally finding the more aggressive spots of this. But my point here is I will talk about comfort quite a bit. These large tires help a lot. This is the bike off. Rolls super smooth. I think that speaks a lot to the tires. I'm really kind of into these tires. Pretty smooth tread pattern down the center with more of a knobbier, maybe gravel tire like tread on the outer edges. Getting into the power. Right now we're in eco mode, just switched over. And not the highest gear, but pretty flat ground here. So let's go ahead and make things push a little bit harder. Again, it has that torque sensor. So when you really push into it, it can feel and sense that extra power you're putting through your legs. And that's where it's gonna try to match you, meet you in. Eco's at 20%. So to do 20 on this bike, very easy, especially on flat ground like this. I have found myself mainly riding in eco when riding with other people, because if it's class 1 and someone else is on class 1 bike, even then they might be in turbo or boost or high, and the bike is gonna do, guess what, the same speed, 20 miles per hour. So I feel like I find myself doing eco, maybe mid, if there's a little bit more wind or more elevation and I wanna go a little bit faster. Speaking of mid, just switched over. Nice big buttons there, make it easy. Absolutely cruising. Very easy to get to that pedal assist speed limit at 20 miles per hour, and even easier to push beyond it. We got a little downward slope here. Let's see what mid does. 21, no problem. Not breathing hard, not getting sweaty. Things are great. Let's click on over into high. And just like that, and we're not even at 100% tuning. There is more left in this bike. And I can barely keep up with it, you know? You can feel the motor getting ahead of you even still. I'm doing 24 miles per hour. So cruising on high, nice little grade here to get up. Still doing 20. Yeah, I'm pedaling, but not hard at all. Bike is keeping ahead of me for the most part. Let's go ahead and swap around and do that again in mid. All right, switching over into mid. Came into it last time with a little bit of speed, so we'll do that for mid. 6th gear, 7th gear, 18, 19 miles per hour. Let's get up into the 8. We'll try to do it the same as in high. Still doing that 20, pushing a little bit harder than I was a second ago. But between the two modes, did speed up that. Really, really, really good power modes. And again, goes to say why I have been spending more time in eco. All All right, so in eco mode, not quite the same lead in. 15, so I'm in fifth gear, pedaling up this. I would say I'm putting out the same amount of energy as before, 14 miles an hour up this hill for the same amount of effort as mid or high, with the benefit of significantly more range. Take that for what it is. I would assume that the split difference between high and eco going up this little slope is within a second. I mean, you're not gonna notice it a whole lot. Well, to show how the throttle works, since it's kind of its own little tune here, kind of pretty much at a stop, and throttle only going up this. Again, it doesn't matter what gear you're in, throttle, class 2, hub drive, it's separate from your gearing. Yeah, I'm gonna go faster than eco, 16, 17, not quite as peppy as high, but by the top, I'm going the same speed. So yeah, very capable, very powerful. The Hyena drive unit on this one, I think is really quiet. You can hear a little hum, but all in all, very impressive. So here's the charger. It has a little magnetic puck here, and this is how it connects to the bike. This whole thing can be down by itself, or you can use the bracket for the back to put it on the wall. Kind of just slides in place there. So up here on the frame, we see where this puck connects to charge it up, and you just kind of throw it on there. I can come in at an angle, and you just kind of gotta get it close, and it doesn't matter what orientation. The way that those pins connect to the charger port there doesn't really matter the orientation. Now, I find this to be a very convenient design. The amount of times that I have spent trying to plug in a charger and turning a full 360 degrees just to find out you were in the right spot, it's just a headache and a nightmare. So this is very cool. It says nothing about the performance of the bike, but it says that the brand is thinking about the user experience. And hey, when it's an electric bike and you have to charge it up, that is part of that user experience. So yeah, congrats to Trek. Thank you for making this. Well, wrapping up our thoughts on the FX Plus One after that ride experience and showing you how it does out on the road, I'll start off by talking about the comfort and overall ride feel. Getting into the comfort, it's very nice upright seated position. I don't feel like I'm overly reaching down for the bars. These Bontrager grips that kind of take an ode to my favorite ergon grips for commuters, with that nice little extended paddle there for the palm of your hand, the heel of your hand, really makes riding this around really comfortable. As far as road comfort goes, not just the bike comfort, it is a little stiff. You can definitely feel some of the chatter out on the road. I do have the tires aired up a little bit higher than probably most of you would do. I would suggest starting out at a higher air pressure and creeping it down a little bit within that window for what they're rated for. A stiffer tire is gonna have more feedback on the road. So you're just gonna have to play around with your line choice and how you weave through obstacles. But if they are aired down a little bit more, you're gonna get some of that comfort back into the frame. But I didn't feel like it was overly chattery or bumping my hands off. Nothing was uncomfortable sustained. You just definitely feel a little bit more of the road. Now, getting into the efficiency of the bike, something I've been very impressed with, and I think this system does a very good job. That 520 watt-hour battery does put out an estimated range of about 50 miles. I have gotten 50 plus riding on this. Again, my tires are aired up a little bit more, and maybe I am pedaling a little bit harder with that torque sensor, but eco, mid, high, those estimations that it predicts on range have all been very spot on. And I think that's a good range to have, even in the high mode of plus 20 miles. That's a lot of riding, and I think more than most people would do in their day, specifically just commuting and riding around. So if you are going to take this on a camping trip and put it on the bike rack and bring it with you, you might not even need to bring your charger, depending on where you're going, and just sticking with eco or mid to kind of get the maximum range out of this bike for your weekend trip. I honestly have been riding this in eco for most of the time, especially if I go out and ride with someone else, depending on their riding style. often I am in the eco and I'm still pulling away from them. So that just says a lot about the efficiency, how well it rolls and how well it does at keeping up speed, the gear selection, how comfortable it is to pedal. I think they kind of nailed it on this one. It's a pretty solid, well-balanced bike that makes it easy to ride and be able to get the most out of that battery. Now, as you can tell, the FX Plus is rather stripped down. It's a pretty basic bike. It comes with the essentials, and I think that's what helps keep it at that price point from Trek. But you do have the option to put some accessories on there. You can run full fenders on this bike. There's plenty of clearance, there's mounts for them. And I think if you are looking at commuting, having fenders and fenders that fit is a really big deal. So know that they are thinking of you and they do have those options available. They're add-ons when you buy the bike, or you can get them later down the road from Trek. And the rear rack is something additionally that you can get. It has standard rack mounts on there, so you might be able to swap over an existing rack, or you can get the Bontrager rack that they offer, which is a MIC HD rack, you know, a 55-pound max rating on it. So there are options there to be able to kit this out as a proper commuter, have pannier bags, and just, you know, places for storage to be able to bring your gear with you. Once again, the FX Plus One, I think a super solid contender for that $2,000 price point. You're getting a lot of bike with a lot of options and the accessories and support, all the things you can imagine from a larger company and a bike that they're gonna offer. So thanks again for watching. If you have any questions or comments about the FX Plus, hey, if you already got one, let us know what type of riding you do. How are you gonna use this bike? If you're looking and interested in a bike like this, how would you use it? We'd love to know. And again, if you have any questions, leave those down below. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you in the next one.